a dad. I try to be a good friend, and I'm a human. As far as anyone knows. My name is Ronyn. I am I suppose I'm the director for video game being made by PhoenixGate Studios. The creative process is hard. And one of the main things you learn about being creative is that you'll have an idea and you love it. It's amazing, you think it's great, but then in practice it does not work. So basically the idea has to die. But then from that, a new idea comes up. And I call that process, the Phoenix Gate. It's that same process that a phoenix goes through when they burn up, turn to ashes, a new one rises. And that's where that came from. I could pinpoint specific moments and memories that made me want to make a game. Like the first time I played Zelda Ocarina of Time, or the first time I played Devil May Cry, specifically the first time it kicked my butt. And I can think of these moments that made me say, man, I love these things, I want to do this. It also comes down to that moment where you feel like it makes sense to you. But it was that moment when I was kind of sketching on notepads about video games and how they would work and how it could work, and it was all just very, very natural to theorize. And I just felt comfortable there. It felt like my space. You know what I mean? My life has influenced my creative process. From the games to the movies to music, books, sometimes even what people are wearing kind of suggests something to me. So if there's certain shows that I've watched, I'm sure they've influenced me. Even sometimes there'll be a show that you watch and maybe there's things you hate about it. And there'll be things where you're like, don't do that. Remember not to do that, right? Like, I don't believe that any game is good for everybody. Just like very few games are bad for everybody, right? It's a matter of what fits your particular favorite thing to do. If you're a combat gamer, you want that combat experience that just feels good the whole time. If you're a story gamer, you want to be engaged in this character and that character, right? It depends on what you're into. So for me, when it comes to mechanics, that's what I'm searching for. I'm searching for that feel. And I always start from mechanics before story when it comes to a game. Now, some people think that's crazy, right? But that's how Nintendo does it. And I've taken a lot of cues from them because people like Miyamoto, the guy who made Mario and Zelda, he's a genius, let's be real about it. And he always started there from like, how should it play? Now, that being said, I love story. I would say that before I started making games, I was telling stories, writing stories, trying to create them. So the idea of coming up with mechanics before story doesn't really tell you what story you have to make because you're still free. Story can come from anywhere, I would say. It can come from, maybe there's something I want to say. Maybe there's a character in my head that keeps bothering me, like a split personality, like, hey, you should tell my story, right? Like, there's a bunch of different ways. Sometimes I'll have a weird dream, or I could be walking down the street and see like a squirrel doing something silly and be like, I can make a story out of that squirrel. And it sounds silly, but it just is how it is. And so anything can trigger it, and then comes the work. The hard part is making this cool little idea into something that flows. Again, what is the goal? Do you want a story that makes people cry? Do you want a story that makes people laugh? Do you want a story about triumph? Personally, the stories I write, they tend to be about triumph, the kind of the hero against too many odds who eventually overcomes them. That's what I like. That's the kind of story I like to tell. The thing about gaming that makes it different than the other media is that it's interactive. When you're experiencing it from that tactile sense, it changes the experience to being less spectator and more participator. And so that's what games are about. It's that power of a storyteller, but not just telling, but kind of bringing you in it. We're gonna make you part of this story. I don't want to do anything if I'm just gonna do the poor man's version of somebody else's stuff. So what I hope we can bring to the table is not so much the term originality, but an original experience. This has been my thing today. I'm gonna give some advice that nobody asked me for. Here's the thing. I can't know for sure that I'll be successful in what I'm doing. I can't know for sure that this whole thing will result in anything except like, oh well, that was a nice try. But the alternative is that I spend my life wishing I would have tried. It's scary out there right now. But I feel like if this is going to be shown to college kids, I'm going to speak to college kids because I was a college kid some time ago. The world around you is going to spin you around, chew you up, spit you out. It's going to happen. So try anyway. But at the same time, if it's what you want, if it's what you truly want, that's where the reward is. And so I'm going to go after it. And what happens next, even if I fall flat on my face, it was worth a try.